Okay, so you're thinking about AMD,
Mm.
especially with all this AI stuff going on. Should you buy the stock or what?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I mean, we're in the AI game for sure,
Right.
but their stock isn't doing like Nvidia, not even close.
Right.
So to help us figure this out, we're looking at this article from the Motley Fool. It's called, Is AMD Stock a Buy?
Catchy.
It was just published on January 12th, 2025 by Chris Niker.
Okay.
And it's got some pretty interesting points.
Looking forward to it.
You ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
I think the first thing we got to remember, the stock market is all about looking ahead.
Mm,
It's less about, past wins. It's more about what's coming next.
right.
So even though AMD has been doing pretty well lately, we need to figure out if that's going to keep going.
Okay, so let's get to the numbers. The article says their sales are up 18% year over year.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. But then their earnings per share,
Yeah.
they jumped like 161%. That's got a good news, right?
It definitely gets your attention. But we got to remember those are past numbers.
Mm.
What we really need to understand is why those numbers are so good and if those reasons are going to stick around.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
So digging a little deeper here, the article talks about their data center business,
Yeah.
which has been like on fire,
Yeah.
122% growth year over year,
Wow.
bringing in $3.5 billion last quarter. That's got to be the AI effect, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Companies are finally realizing AI is here to stay,
yeah.
and they're spending tons of money to build the infrastructure for it.
Right.
AMD's data center processors are definitely benefiting from that.
Okay, but here's the thing. Nvidia is still the king of the AI chip market. This article mentions like 70 to 95% market share.
Yeah, they're dominating.
How can AMD even compete with that?
That's the big question, isn't it? NVIDIA's not at the top by accident. They've got these super powerful GPUs. And those are like the gold standard for AI right now.
GPUs, right. I mean, AMD is known for CPUs.
Right.
Those are like the brains of the computer. But GPUs are different.
Yeah.
They're built for like heavy-duty parallel processing, the kind of stuff AI needs.
Exactly.
So it's like AMD is trying to catch up in a race they just joined.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. For AMD to catch up, they need to offer something way better than NVIDIA. Or way cheaper.
Right.
And that's a tall order.
And to make matters worse, it's not like everything is perfect for AMD. Their gaming revenue is down 69%.
Oh.
And their embedded processor sales dipped 25%. It's not exactly a good sign.
No, it's not. And that's what makes this tricky for investors. AMD is betting big on AI, while other parts of their business are shrinking. It's a gamble.
Yeah.
It's not just about whether AI is the future. It's about whether AMD can win in AI.
Okay, so it's a risky bet.
Yeah.
And their stock isn't exactly cheap either. They have a price-to-earnings ratio of 112.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
Compared to like NVIDIA at 55 or the S&P 500 at 30. That's a big difference.
It is. But a high price-to-earnings ratio, it doesn't always mean a stock is bad.
Oh.
Sometimes it means investors are really optimistic about the company's future. But the question is that optimism warranted for AMD?
Right.
Is their potential in AI big enough to justify that price? Especially when they're going up against NVIDIA.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. The data center numbers look good.
Yeah.
But it seems like a lot is riding on them becoming like the AI underdog champion.
It really does. That's why we need to look at the details. We need to figure out if those high expectations for AMD are realistic, or maybe investors are getting ahead of themselves.
So let's talk about that. What would it take for AMD to really break through in AI and maybe even close that gap with NVIDIA? What do they need to do to shake things up?
Well, first off, they need some major technology breakthroughs. NVIDIA has set a really high bar. AMD needs to offer something revolutionary, something that makes developers and companies say, forget what we're using now, we need AMD.
Right. So basically, they need to become the rock stars of AI chips.
Exactly. The AI chip world is changing fast. It's not enough to just catch up. They need to jump ahead of everyone else.
So they need the tech. But what about partnerships? Working with the big names in AI, like cloud providers, software developers, even companies using AI in specific industries.
Partnerships are huge. Think about it. If AMD can get their chips into the platforms everyone is using, then they instantly have more reach and influence.
Right. So it sounds like they need amazing tech, powerful partnerships, and maybe a little luck, too.
Yeah, it's not an easy road.
It's a tough one. And, we've been focusing so much on AI, but AMD is more than just AI chips. They're involved in other stuff, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like their client processor business, that's still a huge market. Maybe some new product launches. Or a sudden increase in PC demand, that could give them a boost.
Yeah, that's true. What about gaming? I know that revenue took a hit, but gaming is massive.
It is.
Could a new graphics card turn things around for them?
It's possible. The gaming market goes up and down, and AMD has done well there before. It wouldn't be surprising to see them bounce back if they make the right moves.
Okay, so there are some potential bright spots. But we also have to remember the bigger picture. Things like the economy, inflation, even just how much people are willing to spend. All of that can impact a company like AMD.
Absolutely. Investing isn't just about understanding a company. It's about understanding the whole context that company operates in.
Yeah.
Sometimes things outside of anyone's control can make a big difference.
It's a lot to think about. So let's bring it back to the article. What's the author's take on all of this? Do they think people should buy AMD stock? Or is it time to stay away?
Well, the author seems to be playing it safe. They recommend holding off on buying for now.
Okay, so not a buy, but not a sell either. More like a wait and see.
Exactly. They recognize the potential of the AI market, but they think AMD's high valuation, the competition from Nvidia, and their struggles in other areas, all of that makes it a risky investment right now.
Okay, so it's like they're saying AMD could be a winner, but there are a lot of ifs.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like, we're watching a horse race. AMD has a good horse, but the competition is tough, and the track is a little muddy.
I like that analogy. And that's why it's so important for investors to do their homework, figure out how much risk they're comfortable with.
All right, so we've covered a lot. We talked about AMD's growth in data centers, their problems in other areas, the competition from Nvidia, and the author's cautious view on buying their stock.
And we talked about the things that could help AMD beyond just AI, like their client processor and gaming businesses, and the overall economy.
Yeah, we really dug into it. But at the end of the day, the decision to invest is a personal one.
It is. We've given you the information, but you have to make the call.
And that brings us to the big question. Think about everything we've talked about, the good and the bad. What would have to happen for you to feel good about investing in AMD?
What would make you say, yes, AMD is a buy? That's something to think about as we keep watching what they do.
Yeah, that's a good question. We've been so focused on AI, it's easy to forget AMD does other stuff too.
Right. Like we were talking about earlier, their client processor business. That's still a huge market. Maybe they could release some new products. Or maybe PC demand will suddenly go up.
Yeah.
That could really help them.
And what about gaming?
Gaming.
Yeah, their revenue in gaming went down, but it's still a massive market.
True.
Do you think a new graphics card could turn things around for them?
It's definitely possible. The gaming market is always changing, up and down, you know. AMD's been successful in gaming before.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they bounce back, if they play their cards right.
So we've got these potential positives, but we can't forget about the bigger picture. Things like the economy,
Right.
inflation, how much people are spending. All of that can impact a company like AMD.
Oh, absolutely. Investing isn't just about the company itself. It's about understanding the whole world around it. Sometimes things happen that no one can control.
True. So there's a lot to consider. Let's get back to the article. What does the author think about all of this? Do they say, buy AMD stock or stay away?
Well, the author seems pretty cautious. They're basically saying to wait and see.
Really?
Yeah. They think AMD could do well in AI,
Okay.
but their stock price is high. Nvidia is a big competitor, and AMD is struggling in some areas. So they think it's risky to buy right now.
So they're not saying AMD is a bad company, just that there are a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, exactly.
Watching a horse race.
Yeah.
You know,
Anyway.
AMD has a good horse, but there are other strong horses in the race, and the track is a little muddy.
I like that. It's a good way to think about it.
So investors need to do the research.
Yeah.
And decide how much risk they're willing to take.
For sure.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot. AMD's growth in data centers, their struggles in other areas, Nvidia, and the author's cautious view on buying AMD stock.
We've also talked about the things that could help AMD, besides AI, like their other businesses, and the economy as a whole.
Yeah. But in the end, the decision to invest is up to you.
But that's right.
We're just giving you the information so you can make an informed decision.
Exactly.
And that leads us to the big question for you. Think about everything we've discussed, the good and the bad. What would make you feel comfortable investing in AMD?
What would convince you to say, yes, I want to buy AMD stock? That's something to really think about as we keep watching AMD.
So it's like we've given you all the puzzle pieces. Now you got to see if you can put them together.
Yeah, and see if the picture makes sense for you.
Investing is kind of like that, isn't it?
It really is. It's not just about the numbers. You have to think about the potential. and the risks, and how much uncertainty you can handle.
Exactly. Okay, so to wrap things up, we've taken a deep dive into AMD, a company trying to ride that AI wave, but facing some tough competition from Nvidia and some challenges in their other businesses. Plus, their stock price is giving some people pause.
Yeah, we've looked at all of that.
We've also explored the things that could really help AMD, like potential growth in gaming and other markets.
Right, and their data center success is definitely a bright spot.
For sure. And we even asked you to think about what it would take for AMD to really become a leader in the AI chip world.
Yeah, what would make them a true powerhouse?
So hopefully this deep dive has given you a better understanding of AMD, their place in the market, and what to think about if you're considering investing in their stock.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, there's no magic answer in investing.
Right.
It's all about making smart decisions based on the information you have.
And hopefully we've given you the information you need to make those decisions with confidence.
So as you keep following AMD's story, keep asking those tough questions. Stay curious and never stop learning.
Great advice. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into AMD. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, happy investing.